A quick note before we dive into the next episode. You might be surprised to hear me say that the strategy required to establish an online business that is profitable, aligned, and sustainable is not particularly complex. Even in this fast-paced modern environment of increased competition, changing algorithms, and reduced organic reach, and all of the potential strategies you could be using to grow an audience, the foundations and fundamentals of business remain. You need a validated niche, message, offer, and core marketing strategy. And those 4 things can be validated very quickly through sales, through making sales to your ideal clients. The strategies required to get those early sales and validate your niche, the people you're selling to, validate your message, the way you resonate with them and get them to move towards taking action, validate your offer, the thing people are excited to buy from you, and validate your initial marketing strategy, the way that you reach and generate leads from an audience online, can be far simpler than the complex, over-convoluted, big, flashy strategies that you probably see more often than not online. If you're done with playing at the surface and running around in circles trying to figure it all out, and you would like to work with a mentor who will guide you through a step-by-step process that has been proven time and again to generate high connection leads and high ticket sales very consistently, I would love to be that mentor, and the Takeoff program is how we do that. For the first time in 5 years, the price of Takeoff is going up on the 27th of February. So come on over to tashcorbin.com/takeoff, check out the curriculum and the program delivery model, and see for yourself just how comprehensive and high touch this program is. I would love to be your mentor, and I would love to see you in the Takeoff program so we can get you establishing your profitable, aligned, and sustainable business sooner rather than later. 2026 is your year, and I'd love to be part of it. Go to tashcorbin.com/takeoff. Hello, amazing entrepreneur. This is a very special episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. I have a guest for today's episode, which is the spectacular Kerry Rowett. And just like last year, Kerry is actually going to be doing an intuitive reading, accessing a little bit of Reiki energy, and giving us some thoughts, some ideas, some instructions or directions for us to ponder as we step into the Lunar New Year. So this is being released on the eve of the Lunar New Year, and Kerry is going to be providing some insights and some general guidance that you might like to reflect on, that you might like to consider how you could incorporate that into your plan or into the way that you're moving forward in 2026. Now, Kerry will give an explanation of the intention behind it and how to take advantage of this reading. But I also just wanted to encourage you, if you normally listen to the Heart-Centered Business Podcast while you're walking or driving or doing other things, you're welcome to do that with this episode as well. But I'm going to hazard a guess that you're going to want to take a few notes. There's going to be some things that spring to mind that you're going to want to write down. So whether that's having the notes app on your phone available or choosing to actually sit down and listen to this one with a journal in front of you, and, you know, approaching it slightly differently. I just wanted to let you know that that's likely going to be something that might come up for you. So if you were, you know, of two minds about how you were going to listen to this episode and you weren't sure whether you're going to listen to this one straight away or save it for when you're sitting at your desk or do it later today when you've got a little bit more time and spaciousness, I would encourage the sitting with time and spaciousness version of listening. Don't let that be perfectionist and stop you listening at all. But I do encourage you with anything of Kerry's, whenever I have a session with Kerry, whenever I listen to anything of Kerry's, I love to be either sitting on the floor or sitting at my desk, sitting somewhere comfortable with a journal and a pen, because it really does elicit a lot of insights and ahas for me as I listen to it. And I know lots and lots of people who've experienced that as well, because we've had Kerry speak at the Heart Centre Business Conference a couple of times. And that's often an experience and a feeling that a lot of people have when they experience hearing Kerry. So have fun, enjoy. And I also just quickly want to say, we are stepping into the fire horse energy of 2026. So on the Lunar New Year in Chinese astrology, we actually step into that new year. The previous was the wood snake from memory. And so there was a lot of energy around shedding what doesn't serve you. And as we step into the fire horse, this is really about taking action towards those big goals. Now, I'm not an astrologer, so I won't say anything more than that. But I do want to just quickly touch on something that I've seen as people talk about this fire horse energy, and that is a sense of panic or a need to rush, a need to run and get everything done. But if you think about it from an energy perspective, the universal energy of this year is that action taking. It is that being literally like fired up for what it is that you do. And so if you think about being your most effective when you are surrounded by that kind of energy, there's actually a need for you to be quite focused and for you to be quite sturdy and certain. And so rather than letting that energy carry you away and blaming the energy for you feeling frenetic or that you have to rush all the time, perhaps consider whether you can actually find yourself being, I love the phrase, be the rock in the river. So if you think about this energy of the fire horse is like rushing past you and it's pushing you along anyway. So your job is not to add to that. Your job is to channel that, is to direct that energy. So let's see what Kerry has to say for us in this episode as well. But I just wanted to pop in with that little note before we dive in. And also we'll have links to find out more about Kerry and access some of her resources with the show notes of today's episode. So make sure that you go to tashcorbin.com/508 and grab those. Thank you so much. And let's hand it over to Tash and Kerry for your 2026 energy reading. Hello, I'm Tash Corbin, a business strategist and mentor based on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. The mission of this podcast is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs to make more money and in doing so, change the world for the better. This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Gubbi Gubbi and Jinnaburra people. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Hello and welcome to the podcast, Kerry. Now, I'll do a little intro. Kerry is a spectacular business strategist and is an energetics mentor as well. And something that I love about Kerry's work is that she comes to the table with so much in her toolkit. She's got the business strategy side and has been in business for a long time. She's also mentored so many business owners over her time as well, but she also brings some of those very magical modalities to the table. And I have been working with Kerry in a one-on-one capacity as a client for over a year now, and I can tell you she is magical as well as very good at what she does. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Tash. I'm so excited to be here again.
I know. And the again is because we actually did this last year and there was quite a lot of demand. People were asking if you could come back and do another reading for us for 2026. And given that the Lunar New Year is right here upon us, we thought, what a perfect time to do this. So, do you want to give everyone a little bit of an insight on what's ahead for us today?
Absolutely. And so we're doing a reading for the year ahead, and this is going to be very specific to this audience, you as a listener of Tash's podcast. So, what I do is I tune into the energies of the group. I am using Reiki as one of my tools as I'm doing this. I also have intuitive abilities that are outside of Reiki. They're just a separate, innate ability that I have. I have a background of being a kinesiologist, and so sometimes I bring in that skill set as well. And as I'm going through this reading, I'll be asking you sometimes to place your hands in different places on parts of your body. Sometimes I might ask you to close your eyes. If you're able to do that, you can. If you feel comfortable to, you don't have to. And I'll be sharing what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, and what I'm feeling. And so I am receiving messages on behalf of the group. And sometimes you may also receive your own messages. Sometimes people tell me they might have a sentence or a word come to them and then I end up saying it, or they have an additional insight come through to them. So that's the magic of this kind of work. We're also setting up a container here where you can be receiving your own intuitive insights. Now, this is not like an oracle reading. I'm not telling you everything that's going to happen this year. You are a co-creator. You are a creator of your own experience. And so, what we'll be delving into are some of the energies that are really pertinent and important to this year, and how you could best work with those and harness those energies. And I never know in advance what's going to come through either. So, it is a very in the moment experience for all of us. Now, I said that I'm tuning into your energy as someone who listens to Tasha's podcast. I am a listener of this podcast as well. And that's really significant because if I'm doing a reading for a different group about 2026, and I have done this for my mailing list. If you're interested in getting that reading, you could get that at alignandattract.com/Reiki. I've also done one for my own podcast, which is Align and Attract. So those are different audiences, and there may be some overlap between the messages that I receive, but the same people are not on my mailing list as listen to my podcast as listen to this podcast. So there are definitely some differences as well. So let's begin. I'm going to guide you every step of the way. So just allow yourself to relax and prepare to receive. So if you're able to, you might like to just place your hand now at your heart. And if you'd like to, you can close down your eyes and just taking a deeper breath here, allowing yourself to really land in these moments. So often when we're listening to a podcast, we're doing other things at the same time. We might be cleaning or walking or even driving, and it's totally okay to continue with whatever you are doing. But if you could just take a brief moment to allow yourself to connect in, you're going to bring a greater level of intentionality to this work that we're going to be doing together. So just allowing yourself to land here. And I want you to ask yourself now, what do I most desire in 2026? Just allowing an answer to arrive for you. And we're going to intend that this reading and healing is going to support you with that intention. All right, you can release your hand from your heart. Now I'd like you to place your hand on your stomach area. Just taking a deeper breath here. If you happen to be lying or sitting, then you might like to close your eyes. And I'm going to now ask, what is coming through for this group, specifically for you for 2026? And the first message I am receiving is to take your time. And I feel that 2026 is going to be a fast-paced year. We could argue that every year is pretty fast-paced, but I think this is going to be quite noticeable. There are a lot of big energies on the global stage, and in business, there's going to be a lot of rapid change as well. But I don't want you to get caught up in that and think that you need to keep pace with that. If anything, the most supportive thing you could do for yourself in 2026 is to tune out some of the noise. And so when you hear that, I need to tune out some of the noise, I wonder what comes up for you. And the reason why I'm curious is because I'm sure there are a lot of people listening who already don't listen to the news or don't, follow sites or social media accounts that are, going to be bringing a lot of distressing information and so on. But if you were to tune out the noise more than you already have, what might that look like? And it could be unfollowing, it could be unsubscribing, and it actually could be as well you having some more discerning boundaries around when and what you are reading. And so if you are able to keep a tight eye on your social media consumption this year, you would be really glad that you have done that. If you do not do that, and it's really easy to get just caught up in it, especially because so many of us who are listening are using these apps for our businesses. But if you were to find a tighter boundary, and I am getting like a time frame, I don't mean that there is a specific time frame that you should be following, but you might be able to feel for yourself. It's like, I need to cut it at 30 minutes, or I need to cut it at 1 hour, whatever it might be. If you were to find some kind of tight boundary like that, you might find that that is really helpful. I think there is quite a lot of bleed that is going on. And so if I'm just imagining for each of us, like across the day, it might just be 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but it's infecting is the word that I'm getting a lot of your day. It's really bringing down your vibe. It's bringing down your energy. And it is also contributing to an underlying feeling that I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. And I'm not moving fast enough.
It's so funny you say that, because the first thing that popped to my head as well was the inner noise of that constant, like, noisy think around all of the ideas that haven't been captured, or all of the tasks that are overdue, or all of the things we should be able to do, but we're just almost drowning in the noise. So that's so fascinating. That kind of all came back into this final piece. Well done. Oh, I love it. We've got goosies all over, as again, like you did last time.
Love that. Yes, so it's back to this message. Take your time. And we are probably unaware of how much time we are losing to this bleed that, to your point, Tash, we could be using for some of those tasks. Either the energy of those tasks floating around us is causing more weight than actually doing them.
Yes. Yeah. I
They're
love that.
feeling heavier than what they necessarily are. And I am seeing like a list, and it's ironic because I'm talking to you, Tash, and you are the architect of the planning system, and I'm a part of your planning system. But it's the importance of having some kind of planning system is really coming through,
Mm.
and writing those tasks down. Don't let them float. And that's really relevant for me as well. Just don't let them float and just get those frogs, I guess. Like eat the frog first. Like that's what's coming through. And oh, I don't really particularly like that advice because I like to do the nice thing first. I've heard the eat the frog advice a million times and I don't like to take it. And here I am giving that advice. So that is coming through for each of us. Can you remember who created that phrase?
No, I can't remember. I don't like it either. But I do think it is that, you're floating around listening to podcasts or looking at social media, and it's not necessarily that it's an uncomfortable task or it's a bad task. It's just that it's not like you're getting distracted from the important task. It's Brian Tracy. I just Googled it. So Brian
Brian
Tracy.
Tracy. I did have that name, but I wasn't trusting myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so something that I talk about in the planning system is that for some people, that is good advice. Like get the tough thing out of the way first so that then everything else feels easier. But what I also like to do is just get started on something, even if it's a small joyful thing. It creates that rhythm, and then I feel like I can do the bigger piece. So I still think it applies even if you're not necessarily doing the yucky stuff first, which is sort of the literal interpretation. But ultimately, that the principles are about doing the important things, not necessarily the yucky things. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Mm.
is the important things. And the additional piece I'm receiving around this, it's that we can get caught up in doing the thing like listening to the podcast or indeed doing something on social media,
Yeah.
or many other things. And we feel like we are doing something. We feel like we are being productive in some way. And it's those types of tasks. Just be aware. Now, in all the irony, you're listening to a podcast episode right now. I listen to a podcast episode a lot of days in my week, but so it's not really about not listening, of course, but it's just being really discerning and aware about where your time and energy is
Mm.
going.
Yeah.
And like you say, coming back into what is important. What do I need to stay focused on, not getting caught up in the noise? And
Yeah.
really, the thing about the podcast and the socials is it's just not getting distracted by too many of other people's ideas
Yeah.
so that you're actually able to hear your own.
Yeah, I love that. The consume versus create dynamic. And I loved what you said in the initial part about it's boundary time. So, like, I listen to podcasts on my morning walk. Once I'm home, that's now I'm in doing mode. And so, having that transition really helps me too.
Love that. Placing your hands now on your lower abdomen. And this leads into the next thing that's coming through, which is around staying in your own lane. So let me feel into what this is all about. So in 2026, it's really valuable to have a strong skill set and to own the skill set that you actually have and to double down on that. And so you don't, this is another reason why you don't want to get distracted or have your own ideas and work kind of diffused or dulled down by listening to too many other people's ideas and delving too much into their work. And so I know I keep coming back into social media. It's just what's coming through for us today. But something here is just to consider how many accounts you might be following who do something relatively similar to you, and asking yourself, are they the accounts that you should be muting so that there isn't any bleed over into something that, is quite similar but related, but it's not your original idea? And then also think about, how many accounts are you following that are something completely different? And then do you want to be following more or less of those? Like sometimes it might be, oh, I go into the app to do something for business, but then I'm distracted by all of the cat accounts that I follow as an example. And it's like, I'm just getting pulled into something else that, okay, I feel like I like it, but is that really where I want to be pulled when I actually am wanting to be in work mode in that space? So staying in your own lane. And the message here is just to keep coming back to yourself, and you're going to be wanting to take some time for yourself more frequently this year. And so I wonder if you've already got a practice each day where you allow yourself to receive your own guidance, where you allow yourself to tap in to your own thoughts and your own feelings. And that could be through journaling. It could be through going for a walk, but without the podcast. It could be through meditation, yoga, or something else, but just having a look at that. Do I have any blank space, like mental blank space within the day where I am processing my own thoughts and my own feelings? And if you don't, what could that look like? What would you like that to look like? And you might like to speak into this, Tash, because I know you do have a journaling practice.
Yeah, I value thinking time so much, and I really have taken time over the years in my business to really understand why I struggled with downtime so much. Like when I first started my business, the idea of just sitting still and staring off into space felt like the most counterproductive thing to do. And I think we have experiences, whether it be in schooling or in the workplace or even in your family settings, where, if you're seen to be at rest, you're judged as being lazy or unproductive. And we could talk about class and the working class and all those sorts of things and how it came about. But ultimately, one of the most important things we need to do as business owners is be in our strategic brain and to actually be considered and think things through. And if you're just jumping from thing to thing to thing, often that's what keeps you busy, but not actually moving forward. And so it is that hamster wheel kind of feeling that you're just doing the same things. And so, yeah, I journal very consistently. I also just have a lot of space in my day, in my week. And I really practice noticing if I'm sitting. Sometimes, I always have a window in my office. I have 3 offices in my house. But like I'll have a window. So I'm like, I'll find myself just staring at the sky out the window. And if I find myself going, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, then I'll have that pattern interrupt of, well, why not? Like, this is a beautiful little spacious bit of thinking time. Clearly I had some things to think about. And so even just journaling on that, I use those little moments as an opportunity to find something to think about or consider or journal. And it's really interesting about the stay in your lane as well, because something I saw a lot last year was people diversified their office suite and spread themselves really thin, trying to get a bunch of different things off the ground. And we've seen a lot of talk in the start of this year already about how everyone is craving in-person connection. Everyone is craving more events. Everyone is craving more of this real connection. I think the risk is that people just add more and more options to their office suite, and they don't do it in a strategic or considered way. And so if you are creating an online event or an in-person event, where does it fit in the business? What does it replace in the business? And also, how does it contribute overall to the business compared to the other things that might be an opportunity cost because you haven't got those sorted yet, or you can't do those if you're doing this as well? And so, I think it's those two things of having that spaciousness really popped in for me, and then not spreading yourself thin. You know, when we see a cost of living crunch, people assume they need more low ticket offers, and all of a sudden they have 18 of them. Or when we see this desire for people to have connection, people are running far more online events or in-person events, or, you know, they're going on a speaking tour or whatever it might be. And that is absolutely brilliant if it still is in that strategic alignment with what you want to move towards. Yeah.
I think that's just such a perfect addition. And it makes so much more sense to me as to why stay in your lane with coming up, because there is that risk, isn't there, that we can just be jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And so to your point about live events, do you need to run one just because they are apparently the hot new thing, even though they've been around forever? Or do you just need to attend one?
And I've even done that myself, right? Because I do run conference. It's my big event each year. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I could go on a speaking tour. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do that. I was like, actually, I need to go and look for some conferences to go to. Clearly, I am connecting with that. I need to be connecting with others as well. And if the events are getting a lot more people coming to them, then I'm going to meet so many more people, or I'm going to be able to connect with a wider group of people. But I just need to be in the room. I don't need to host every single one of them. And so, yeah, definitely personally taking that message, as well as letting everyone else to jump onto that one as well.
Love that. And I also loved what you said about that spaciousness. And the additional thing that I would like to add here is, and it relates again to staying in your lane, you actually need that spaciousness to connect to your own original ideas and thought leadership, because we all know, like, there's so much more AI and a lot of discussion around that. I'm certainly seeing a lot of people saying, oh, they're stepping back from AI for content. There are obviously lots of great ways to use AI that are not content related, and to then have the really potent and powerful insights that your right people are able to connect to. Yeah. That has to come from somewhere. And that's why we don't want it to be coming because you've been scrolling and then you're like, oh, yeah, that's sort of similar actually to what I think. Maybe I'll just say it this way. But we don't want that. We want it to be that your ideas are sourced from the spaciousness, and they're sourced from the work that you are doing with your own specific clients. People are really looking for resonance in 2026, and it is a lot about connection. And it is a lot about, do I like you? Do I trust you? Like, of course, that has always been there, but it's more so than ever. Yeah. I just want to feel like I'm talking to a person who is real, who can help me in some particular way, and who wants to help me and who wants to be present.
Yeah. And that also leans into that nourish and nurture the audience you have if you want that audience to expand, because I also feel like we're going to go back to more of a referral network, even for your free content, that aiming to get your content in front of people through advertising and SEO and AI optimization, all those things. Yep, great for cold audience who are in the search mode, and it is a good longer term strategy, but ultimately that relationship and connection is so fast tracked when a friend sends you a podcast or they send you a post or tag you in something. And so having something that is original, having something that is yours, having content that really nourishes and nurtures your specific niche and is as narrow as possible is also going to make it far more likely that they're going to think of one specific person when they consume it and send it to that person or tag that person. If it's generic advice about generic problems or generic goals, then every person that they know needs it, therefore nobody gets sent it or tagged. And so I really love that, like, stay in your lane. I think it's going to be a really powerful message all year. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do think it is. And it's something that AI can't really replicate as well. It's good at coming up with general themes and general points. And how useful is that really? Like, of course, that question is rhetorical. Nobody who's listening to this finds that useful, or indeed is probably going to be using that themselves in their content either. But in order to tap into what is genuinely useful and your like unique, specific ideas, it's like that requires some space. And that's where you will start to stand out.
Yeah.
And this is for everyone who's listening. You're going to start to stand out more than you have before, because there's something about you that is different. And this came up in our reading last year.
It did. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's claiming the spotlight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming through again. There is something that is about you that is different. And that's been a source of pain for you in the past, is what's coming up. And this year, like, the more that you can accept the ways that you are different, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to spotlight those differences. You don't have to come out with all of your different divergences and all of your different differences, but the more you just accept it and show up as that and as you, with your quirks and with your ways of seeing things. And this is a big part of the difference, actually, is your divergent ways of seeing things, seeing the world, seeing life. And that can cause you sometimes to feel different to the people around you, but it's going to help you to find more people who you can help. Because I think what we're going to be seeing a lot of this year is there is more othering that is happening. Of course, there's a lot that's happening all around the world, particularly in the States, and people are looking for green flags.
Yeah.
They're looking for signs that I could be safe here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that so much.
And everyone who is listening, you are one of those people who can be a safe harbor.
Yeah.
That's a part of what the role you can play on social media is. Okay, so now if you wouldn't mind placing your hands at the top of your thighs. So the final point that's coming through for each of us is around trusting the process. Now, this links straight to what Tash just shared before, which was about, doing the strategies that you know that you want to do and that work. And it can be those simple strategies. So, for example, we use essentially this strategy. It is the podcast episode or the guesting on the podcast, and then it's the social content that comes out of that, and then it's the newsletter. It's just trusting that kind of process that you've already got in place. And if you want to tighten up any of those processes, go ahead. But just having that level of calm, like in the way I described that, is like, I'm not going to complicate things. I don't need to have a 27 email funnel, or I don't need to jump on the bandwagon with a new strategy that is coming through if I've already got something that is working. I just need to trust the process of that and know that if I stick to that process, and as I continue to improve and refine and get better and better at speaking to my client in a way that causes them to think of somebody else who also needs to hear this same message, like that level of simplicity, it's going to work in 2026. And so it's more about, again, that connection. And so you just do your process, but then other magic things happen. It's the person that is forwarded the podcast episode who then creates some kind of opportunity for you or reaches out to you about something completely different. Is this kind of thing is what I'm seeing happening for each of us in 2026. And it's not because you did something really flashy, fancy, or new. It's because you just trusted the process. You listened to Arnie Tash, you followed her processes, you got your foundations in place, and you just did the things. And you didn't judge those things as being boring or hard or whatever. You just did the things. And that doesn't mean putting undue pressure on yourself or working all of the hours, but you just found a process and then you trusted the process. You chose, of course, a process that can work, that does work, and ideally historically has already worked for you, but then you didn't go into your head and judge it, question it, and try and fancy it up too much. You're not looking for like the quantum leap. It's like, oh, well, that process that you just described, Kerry, I've been doing that, but I only have, for example, this many subscribers or this many downloads. It's not really that exciting. It's not really working. Don't worry about any of that. Remember what Tash said earlier. Think about the people who are already in your audience, respect them, and speak directly to them, because that is where the magic is. And you'd much rather speak to 10, 20, 100, 500 people who are actually listening to what you have got to say than to a million people who are not listening to what you've got to say.
I love that. And it is that invisible momentum that happens when you are consistent, you've got your foundations clear, and you're showing up reliably as well. I think the days of being able to be super prolific for 2 weeks and then disappear for 3 months and then 6 emails in 6 days, then we don't hear from you again for a couple of months. I just don't think that people will tolerate that as much, because if we think about the world situation, our nervous systems are fried, we are in overwhelm, and your audience are in that same state. And I think that we can be this steady, reliable source of insight and inspiration and exploration and expansion for our audiences. And so it does seem like it's the basic, boring stuff, but it's creating this hidden momentum, this hidden development of trust. And that is where those opportunities often come from. And I literally had this happen to me today. This morning, I had a sale of my takeoff program, and it was someone had been told to listen to my podcast. They listened to that episode, and then I had a lot of old episodes. So they were a little bit down the rabbit hole, got to one and ended up sending me an email and saying, can I talk to you about this takeoff program because I think it's what I need? And she bought it today. So it's those sorts of things where that person didn't know about me 2 weeks ago, but if I hadn't been releasing podcast episode after podcast episode, I wouldn't have actually had the content there to be able to support her when she did get referred through to me. So I think it's one of those really powerful, practical examples of how that works and how that happens.
Yes, I love that. And I've got an example as well to share in a moment. And the word I would like everyone to be thinking about here is ecosystem. Thinking about your business as an ecosystem that somebody can enter in what feels like to them a random or synchronistic way, and the ecosystem supports them to get the information that they need to connect with you, to build that trust, and so that they can then make a decision about working with you. And so even thinking about your social media in that way, don't get caught up in how much engagement am I getting? How many likes did that post get? Like, who cares? If you think about this in terms of it being a part of your ecosystem, and you want somebody who lands on your social media to be able to read about you, to see your face, to hear you speak, and they can then use that to shortcut their own process of understanding if they want to know more from you.
Yeah.
So if you're able to think about it like that, it's going to make a big difference. The example that I wanted to share was I was asked to guest on my mentor's mastermind day. And so I did that. She just shared a snippet on social media, and somebody saw me on that snippet and immediately reached out. They did check out all of my social media first. And she was like, I really like your energy. I really like the sound of what you do. And then we've had a conversation just yesterday, and she would like to join my mastermind. And so it's the ecosystem effect. Whereas if I had said, social media, what's the point? The engagement's so low, etc. Like, she connected because she could see I was present. She could see I was active. She could hear my voice. She could see me speak. And that built some level of trust that then has caused her to want to become a client.
I love that. So good. We both have such great examples of that one.
I love that.
Amazing.
So let's complete at the heart, just to allow all of this to wrap up. And we're sharing those examples. And this is a part of the reading for you as well. So you can even hear in this energy how this has ended up being a collab between Tash and I as well. And that's just the way energy works. So those examples are not really about me, and they're not really about Tash. They are just indicative of what you can expect in 2026 if you just take your time, stay in your own lane, and trust the process. These are the kinds of examples that you're going to be sharing with us during the year. And you're going to be saying, that was exactly right. I have had this example happen. I have had that invitation. And it's all because I took my time, I stayed in my lane, I trusted the process. So with your hands at your heart, just allowing this session to start to integrate for you. And those three key messages that came through: take your time, stay in your lane, trust the process. Just allowing those to ripple through your being. And as the year goes on, they're going to have more significance, more meaning than they even do right now. So please know you can come back to this podcast episode multiple times during the year. It's going to give you different insights when you come back and re-listen, and you're going to understand it differently too, because of the way it's starting to weave and play out in your own life. So thank you.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much, Kerry. And in the show notes of today's episode, we'll make sure we have links to those other readings if anyone wants to go and check those out. And also Kerry's socials and website so that you can go and follow Kerry if you're not familiar with her work. Thank you, Kerry. We'll send everyone some amazing vibes and energy for 2026. And until next time, Kerry and I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now, everyone.
See you later.
Before you go, a quick reminder to come and check out the Takeoff Mentorship Program at tashcorbin.com/takeoff. The price is going up on the 27th of February, and I want to ensure that if you do decide that 2026 is your year to finally establish that consistent, reliable income, that we can get you in at the cheapest possible price. Plus, the sooner you join, the sooner you can start coming along to our hot seat mentoring calls, get really clear on exactly where your strategy gaps are so that you can ensure you are consistently attracting leads and making sales of your VIP high ticket packages. Let's do this together. Come on over to tashcorbin.com/takeoff.